Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening to our weekly Intel report here on Nemico Network for the 22nd of June, 2023. It's technically the 23rd now. This stream in the title it says for 22nd. We've now rolled over into the 23rd, so I guess I'll have to update that. First up, however, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called out Russia for killing 136 children in Ukraine in 2022. The Russians were responsible for killing 136 children in Ukraine, basically from munitions like artillery, missile strikes, etc., bombs being dropped on residential areas in Ukraine. The UN, the United Nations, has also verified that Russian armed forces and affiliated groups injured 518 children and carried out 480 attacks on schools and hospitals. In further news, Russia has formed special groups to collect and hide bodies of people killed in the aftermath of the Kakhovka Dam breach in southern Ukraine. As I reported in previous live reports, a lot of that territory is in Russian control. So a lot of that territory that was affected by that dam breach is in Russian control. The Ukrainian president said in a video address on Thursday that the situation in Russia-occupied parts of the region was, quote, catastrophic, to put it mildly. It is definitely not a pretty situation there. Cholera outbreaks, all sorts of different health issues and humanitarian crisis that is unfolding there. Ukraine's prime minister has said its counteroffensive will take time, but he is optimistic about its success. As I said earlier, I would argue the counteroffensive has been underway for quite some time. Zelensky said the counteroffensive might be, quote, going slower than desired, but would not needlessly risk soldiers' lives. Meanwhile, here, foreign donors pledged $60 billion of new financial support to Ukraine. We don't just have new weapons packages, new defense packages heading over there, but we also have just financial support to rebuild Ukraine heading over there as well. The UK said as the international conference in London aimed at funding the country's reconstruction closed, the commitments from the government and international organizations targeted supporting Ukraine in the short and medium term, the British Foreign Minister James Cleverly said on Thursday. Russia, meanwhile, fired cruise missiles and ballistic missiles and strike drones at targets in Ukraine early on Thursday, causing damage in the cities of Odessa, Kryvyi Rih, and a few others, Ukrainian officials said in a statement. Meanwhile, Russian-backed officials in southern Ukraine have accused Kyiv of using British-supplied long-range missiles to strike a bridge connecting Kherson province with the Crimean Peninsula. A series of photos and videos circulating on Telegram on Thursday showed a large crater on the bridge and debris littering the roads. There were no casualties reported. The bridge is the shortest route from Crimea, from the Crimean Peninsula to the front line in the south of the country, guys. This is a very significant bridge here. It is also an important link to the occupied city of Melitopol, which lies on the coastal route from the Russian border across southern Ukraine to Crimea. United States President Joe Biden has defended calling the Chinese President Xi Jinping a, quote, dictator just days after their countries hailed modest progress in cooling down tensions and ratcheting back those tensions. And then he goes and just drops the mic on this one. He drops this bomb on President Xi Jinping, calling him a dictator during a joint press conference with nonetheless Indian Prime Minister here. The Chinese and the Indians, they don't get along that well. All right, so this adds some sugar and spice on top of the whole ordeal here. All right, during that joint press conference with the Indian Prime Minister on Thursday, Biden said his blunt statements about China are, quote, just not something I'm going to change very much. So he's not going back on it. In fact, he's doubling down on the comments about President Xi Jinping of China being a dictator. With this article here, Politics Taiwan says Chinese air carrier group sails through the Taiwan Strait. So not only do we have that Coast Guard drive-by here, but we also have a Chinese air carrier group sailing through the Taiwan Strait around the same time. Chinese Shandong aircraft carrier led a group of warships through the Taiwan Strait on Wednesday, Taiwan's defense ministry said. Amid heightened tensions over the island, China claims as its own. Taiwan's defense ministry said the Shandong, commissioned in 2019, had traveled in a southerly direction through the western part of the strait. In response to the move, the ministry said it had sent, quote, appropriate forces to monitor the activity. So again, China getting right in there. They're sailing the strait. They're getting in there. They're showing force. And then at the same time, we got the U.S. over here showing force. Vladimir Zelensky reportedly said Ukrainian spies believed Russia was plotting an incident to release radiation from the Russian-occupied Zaporizhia plant. I've been talking about this plant situation for quite some time now and how sketchy this whole situation is surrounding the Zaporizhia nuclear plant. So this is some pretty big news here coming from that nuclear power plant. We're going to have to keep an eye, as we say here, on that situation here. Over the next few weeks here, as tensions definitely have increased in and around the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. It looks like I think that's about it. I think that about sums up everything for this evening. If I missed anything, guys, send me a message. You can always PM me on Discord. You can always send me an email. I love reading your guys' emails. I read every comment. I read every message that's sent my way. Sometimes I get bombarded with them, so it takes me a little bit of time to get back to people, so bear with me. But to everybody that tuned in this evening, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Until next time, you are watching Nemico Network.
Nemico.